Okay.
Welcome, everyone. I'll continue to admit folks as they enter, and this meeting is being recorded and will be posted on the town's YouTube page for viewing later. Want to welcome you all and thank you all for joining us. We have our newly formed Public Safety Committee Chair, Bruce Tully, who has prepared for us a presentation on managing personal security. I have posted Bruce's very impressive resume and the multiple town announcements advertising this event. Bruce could probably speak to it better than I can, but suffice it to say for now that he has a very extensive career in the Foreign Service, public safety, in the State Department, and a lot of other very high-profile organizations in the United States government and elsewhere. Just a reminder to folks, I have kept everybody unmuted, or excuse me, I've kept everybody muted for the moment. If you do wish to make a comment, you can use the raise hand feature or send me a direct message on the chat. With that, I'm just going to turn it over to you, Bruce, and let me know if there's anything technical or otherwise that I can help you with.
Thank you. Well, good afternoon, everybody, and I'm very happy to see all of you that are here. And what we're going to do for as long as it takes, we're scheduled for an hour, and I'll certainly think we could do a little less than that, but if we have to go over, we'll do that. This is basically a mirror image briefing that I give at the Foreign Service Institute practically every Monday, and have been doing it for 16 years. And part of my career has been teaching security, personal security, and as you know, I do that now in quote retirement. But the bottom line is that with the town, I'm going to talk to you, and it is a talk, not a lecture, it's a chat about what you can all do to minimize, not eliminate, but minimize your risks out there, specifically in town and the area. It is interactive. If you got a question or a comment, raise your hand. We certainly want to hear from you. And with that, we'll begin. And the first thing I tell every audience, which is usually made up of just about every civil service and foreign service organization in the government that goes abroad. And what we do is it's a mandatory course. It's called Security Overseas. It's based on something called the FACT course, which is the Foreign Affairs Counter Threat course, which is a James Bond kind of course for a week where we blow things up and put you in helicopters and extract you from underwater. We do all kinds of stuff to keep you safe. But basically, what we'll do is here just talk about what's out there, the dangers, how you can minimize things. And what I tell everybody right up front, which is in the Foreign Affairs Manual, is that volume 2, section 298, 2 FAM, Foreign Affairs Manual, that every individual abroad is responsible for their own security. Certainly the agents, diplomatic security agents who run regional security operations at about 198 posts or more overseas, give you the skills, and everybody in the foreign service or civil service that goes abroad must take this course. It's not voluntary, it's mandated by Congress. And you go through it, and we give you the best tools, but you are responsible for your own security, whether it be here in town, in the area, and you have to own that. So just let me start by telling you that for a fact, and let's go across here now. And can I get this to work? I can. So we have objectives, obviously, and even though this is based for overseas, it's good domestically. When it has, we say employee responsibilities, it's your responsibility. We tell people that you need to be briefed, you need to know what's going on. And I would think in town, people can do that. And you can get your briefings, and I put this out previously, I believe on the 12th of December or elsewhere, that Montgomery County Police, and Montgomery County has excellent resources, as does the district, Metropolitan Police, where you can get on their tweets and their alerts, and I'm on various ones to tell you what's going on around town. And we think that's your responsibility. We'll certainly help you out in town by giving you some bulletins as we did before the inauguration. But basically, you have to protect yourself, and that's not very difficult. It's just being aware. We talk about situational awareness, which I'll get into a bit more, and situational awareness, which I've previously mentioned in emails out to everyone, is simply being cognizant what's happening around you right now. Not 2 minutes ago, not 2 minutes ahead, but what's happening right now. And that can be difficult for you when you're walking the dog or you're out for a walk and you've got your headphone on or you're talking on your phone, because then you've lost some of that situational awareness. You can't hear what's happening. You can't see what's happening because you're focused on the phone or the dog or whatnot. So as you're out and about walking or whatever else, every once in a while, be cognizant that yes, someone could be following you, a street person, a mugger, whomever else, vehicles, other dogs. So you want to stop and just look around, see what's happening. So you want to be aware. And I'll go into this a little bit more, but once you're aware, you got to do something about it. If something bothers you, if it creates anxiety or it's problematic, that's something we want you to talk about and just say, hey, what can I do to get out of this? Criminal threats, street and area crime. We know from our previous briefing from the chief of police of Montgomery County, which was, I thought, an excellent presentation that the mayor put on for the town, went very well. We are in an increased profile of increased crime. It is basically carjacking, car theft, break-ins. There are some muggings on the street, and it's upticking as we speak. And that's for a lot of reasons we don't have to go into. What we have to understand is that it's happening, and you have to be aware. We're not immune from it, and I'll talk about carjacking in a little bit. But we know that people can go through the town at any given time. That at 24/7, they certainly do that. So it's out there, and you should be aware of it, and you have to operate with that. Terror operations method and acts. Who would have ever thought that the United States would have their own domestic terrorist warning? Now, I've worked too many places overseas to tell you and deal with this, but domestically, that's outrageous that we have to worry about it. Now, having said that, it's a reality, so you want to be very careful. We'll talk more about that at any time, but there are bad guys out there who don't act rationally. They believe things that you can't understand, that I certainly can't understand how they see it, but they do, and they're heavily armed. And they have sociopathic tendencies in that they don't care what happens to them or people because that's part of their game. That's what we're going to do. You certainly saw that on the 6th of January with the insurrection at the Capitol. And then we're going to talk about problem recognition, which goes with situational awareness. And that's just looking for things as they unfold. And what are you going to do about that? And one quick example on problem recognition, and I'll go into this more, but 2 weeks ago at approximately 9 p.m., I was out walking my dog, and it was really cold. And we went down to the pool area. And as we're going down there, we came around the corner into the driveway, and coming down from Friendship Heights were 6 young men, late teens, early 20s, 6 of them. Now that's problem recognition. It's a little unusual because I don't usually see 6 people speaking non-English, and it wasn't Spanish. My right ear is a little rusty, but it was Cyrillic, possibly Polish, possibly Russian, but it wasn't, and they didn't have a profile, which I'll talk about, which is the observation of behavior. And they probably had a little too much to drink or smoke, and they spread out. And as they spread out, in my line of work, it looked like they were getting ready to get into an attack profile. And so what I simply did, and we were about 40 yards away from each other because I'm looking ahead. I simply turned around. It didn't feel right. left the air. Now they saw me looking at them. I gave them a look, which is part of what we do. And I turned around and I said to Chrissy, the wonder dog, you know what? It's time to go home. So we turned around and we started going up the street and we stopped and we looked. I wanted to know that I saw what's going on, and I put my little flashing light on at that white blinker, and we went home. And it wasn't sufficient for me to call the police. We can talk about that, but it made me anxious. And that's me who does this for a living. And that's a little signal for all of you. It's okay to have anxiety. It's all right to have something called the gift of fear, which is a book I'll talk about, and remove ourselves out of the way. And that's what I did. Problem recognition can also be traffic, it can be weather, it can be health situations, but we want to talk about the whole thing here, and that's pretty much what we do. And here's the messages of intuition, which is what you want to trust, and it goes to that book, The Gift of Fear by Gavin de Becker, and I don't get a dime for it. I wish I did, but it's been around for about 35 years, and it's an excellent book, and it goes with situational awareness and using your intuition, those little thoughts that come in there. And intuition is your intelligence, your experience, your training, your genes, and you should act upon that. You should not ever ignore it. It could be a health issue, it could be danger, it could be weather, it could be traffic. But The Gift of Fear is an excellent book. Actually, the FBI, the ATF, Diplomatic Security State Department, we issue that book. And I know DynCorp does it, other organizations. It's a fabulous book to read. You can get it on Amazon for about $6 or $7, but I'd like you to consider that. But this is something you have to do. And I think Franny kind of touched on this with the chief of police. You shouldn't have, and he gave an excellent answer. If you see somebody or something, whatever it might be, and I'll go into this a little bit more too, but if it gives you anxiety, whether it be a dog, a person, a car, we had that person in a vehicle going by looking at young ladies, you should act on your intuition. You should never dismiss it. You can investigate it quickly and say, hey, what's going on, whatever else. But please don't ignore this, because it could be very problematic for you otherwise. Embassies, very quickly, no one here is going to go overseas in any time in the future, but we have this up just to remind people that when you do go abroad, and I've had the pleasure to help our citizens register for this, the State Department has something called Safe or Secure Traveler Overseas, or you hook up with an embassy, the consular district. If you're going to be going overseas, we'd like you to be in touch with that Smart Traveler Enrollment Program, I think it's safe.state.gov. You can look at that up. But by all means, please do that. And it tells the cognizant consular district that an American citizen will be traveling through their area. So if something goes wrong, if there's a problem, what you can do is rely on the government, State Department, to be in touch with you that there's something going on, and you should be aware of it. And I will just tell you incidentally that a family member was traveling in Morocco a year ago, March, when COVID was there, and they closed the country down without any notice. And because our family member had the opportunity to register with this program, the government, the consular district reached out, was able to give them assistance to hook up to get a British Airlines ticket to get into the UK, stay there 24 hours and get home. So it's very significant. It's a great service. It's free. And why wouldn't you do it? I continue when we talk to people about what is your responsibility. And that is what we continue to stress, that your responsibilities is to protect you, to look out. Now, certainly you can call 911, you can call the police, but you're the person who's on the street who's responsible for you, not anybody else. And you need to know that. And so when I say collecting post-specific information, that's for folks who would be going abroad at their own particular embassy. But here in town, it's what's going on in Montgomery County, what's going on in the district, what's going on in Virginia, wherever you may be traveling, what's happening. And here are the different things that you can see on my screen. crime trends, terrorism, natural disasters, all these things, transportation, health issues, no-go areas. Everything here can affect your personal security, specifically also in Somerset and the area. And I want to kind of move off the dime a little bit and just looking at Somerset, because you travel, you walk into Chevy Chase, you go to Bethesda, you go to Silver Spring, you go into the district, you go elsewhere. So you want to know what areas may be, quote, safe or unsafe or have a tendency to have other problems. And you can easily find that out by going on the Montgomery County website, see their bulletins and their tweets. You can do it with Metropolitan Police. They have profile sheets, which I'll talk about. But all these things are there. Crime trends are going up. And I suspect, as I said in a previous email to everyone, it's going to continue to go up. We're going to see street crime. We're going to see car thefts. We're going to see break-ins. And how do you defend against that? We'll talk about too. But first of all, the problem is it's there. Terrorism, natural disasters. Natural disasters. We're looking at a snowstorm. We put something out in the town not current, but the last town journal on protecting yourself or stocking up on supplies, not just for snowstorms, but long range, looking for what could happen. Transportation issues, the metro, what's going on there, what kind of crime there may be. Other issues, health issues, let's just talk about COVID. The state of Maryland and the county has put out pretty much a requirement, a very heavy request, if you will, that you wear a mask. And as I go through town, as everybody here I see on my screen, I see most people wear a mask. Now, that's not just for your health, but it's someone else. And there are some folks that don't wear masks. People have said to me, well, should we put a sign up or should we scream at somebody? My answer is no. Take care of yourself. People are a little agitated by a lot of things right now. And if you get into someone's face and say, wear a mask, that may be the tipping point for someone to have a little microaggression. And we don't want to have that, but protect yourself with health issues and whatever else may be out there. No-go areas pretty much for us is very critical on high threat posts overseas. But here, there are certain parts of the district that I simply don't go into because I know the crime profile. And the profile is the observation of that behavior, what's going on, what's trending, and why would you put yourself in an area that you know is problematic? So you have to evaluate that on yourself. And the biggest problem that I've seen in my career, going back to when I was in the Secret Service at the White House, or doing criminal work or counterintelligence work or espionage stuff in the field, is that there's always someone that says, it's okay, I'll be all right, I know what I'm doing. That's when you get into trouble. Expect the unexpected is one of our mottos, and I would just ask you to kind of think about that too. You never know what's around that next corner, and while none of us think something's going to happen to us, let's just look at this little example. When you get in your car and you get on the beltway, I hope most of you drive defensively. And in driving defensively, you do that because you're looking before you make a left turn or a right turn to a lane. You use your mirrors, you look, put your signals on, hopefully, and you move when it's safe. And that's pretty much what we're talking about here. Look, know before you go. And that's taking very good responsibility on yourself at a little micro scale. And those are the kind of things that I'd like you to do when you're thinking about traveling somewhere. Do I really have to go here? And that could be for health reasons as well. So where am I going? What am I going to do? So all of these other issues here we look at. I have a little silly picture up here, again, about situational awareness. And we took this picture of a staffer at the Foreign Service Institute with her very kind permission, because she is actually 2 years ago coming out of a Macy's at Montgomery County Mall at about 8:45 at night in a cold December day. And even though she's had the course, she was in a hurry. She came out, she didn't look left or she didn't look right. She went right to her car. And unfortunately, 3 teenage girls attacked her and mugged her, took the car, injured her severely, and off they went. And as far as I know, they're still at large. So how do you protect yourself like that? Again, it's a conscious awareness. When you come out of a building, look around, look left, look right. And does everything look all right? It's probably all right. Then you do what you got to do. Um, a little personal ownership every single day to be aware when I get up in the morning and I'm going to take my darling dog out, regardless of the time. Before we go out and we're all hooked up, I check the weather. I look out the window, what's going on. I have a little TV camera on the front. You have a little sign there. And I look to see, does everything look, quote, normal? Now, normal might be what car is there, what shouldn't be there, what is there. When I open the door and we go up to the sidewalk, we look left, we look right, not just across the street, but to see what is normal, what's going on. So I'm being aware of what's there. And if I see something that's not normal, meaning a different car or a different person, I look at it and I do a quick evaluation. Is it safe? What is that person there for? Oh, the person may be a landscaper, maybe someone else, but I think you know what I'm saying. So we understand it. And I guess for me, it kind of comes naturally because I like to think I was born um, curious. And that means I'm observant and I look around and my job, the skills we developed for that, whether you're protecting the White House, the president, the secretary of state, others, as we do, you're just always looking and seeing what's out there. So situational awareness is seeing what's there and understanding it. Going back to this picture I told you, our person came out of Macy's. What we ask you to do is anytime, as I just said, just come out around and look around. And if you see somebody or something or some event that is problematic and gives you anxiety, it goes back to the gift of fear, your intuition. It's like you to do something about that. Meaning, is it safe to go? Is it okay? Is it all right? You evaluate it. And if not, you turn around, you go back and you figure it out. You're all smart, intelligent people. And that's what we want you to do. Anticipate what might happen next. Here's a great one. Profile the scene and the person. Normally, someone jumps up and down when I say the word, we're profiling you, we're profiling. Profiling for me and now for you and everybody else we talk to, and there's been somewhere in my case, of 16 years, I'm doing CBS News and ABC News and CNN, about 32 million people, not an exaggeration. But when I talk about profile the scene, the person, it's the observation of behavior. The chief, Montgomery County, talked about that. Again, Franny, thank you for that time to bring up that particular discussion because it was so important. What is odd? What fits in? What doesn't? Profile the scene and the person. If you come out of a store and everybody leaves the area and it should have been crowded, that's a clue. I mean, that's something you want to think about. If you profile the scene, when I do teach in person, because I've been doing it online because of COVID, when I've got to go to Arlington to the Foreign Service Institute, I usually leave between 6:45 or 7:15 in the morning. I get in the car, I put on WTOP, not music because I want to hear the weather and I want to hear the traffic. And if I get into Friendship Heights and there is a lot of traffic, that's profiling that scene. And if there's an accident, I can't afford to be late. So I look left, I look right, I might turn around. So you just look at it. But it also talks about looking at the person. Should that person fit in? Again, going back to what's normal on your street, what's normal where you live. And if everything looks fine, it's daytime and person kind of fits in, it doesn't give you any anxiety, could be a visitor, whomever else, fine. If you're coming back from somewhere, I'm going to talk about carjacking in a little bit on that. But if you're coming back walking or driving and you think you're being followed or someone's looking at you odd or someone who doesn't live there is on the lawn or on the porch or in the afternoon, like that Asian young woman who we had walking around barefoot on Essex, that's unusual. And that meaning you've profiled the scene, you've looked at the observation of behavior, and you want to do something about it. We would think, at least for you. So it makes you uncomfortable again. you withdraw. You may or may not want to call the police and just say, there's something going on. And I guess there's a good point to talk about this. We've seen on the listserv, people say, call the police, don't call the police. Um, the best way to anticipate this is this. And the chief said that again. It's their job for their dispatcher and their folks to evaluate what you tell them. They will ask you the certain questions. So if you see something that's odd, something that's problematic to you, and it sufficiently bothers you to the point you say, I can't handle this, meaning there's something, it's out of my control, but I think there's something wrong, or I can't let it go. You can call the non-emergency number of Montgomery County. It's in our own town manual, and say, here's the situation. You can give your name, your address, or not, although I tell you, it comes up in the command center. But you simply say, here's the situation. They'll evaluate it, and then they'll dispatch as necessary. And we'd rather you do that than not. And why not? So again, please consider that. Oh, and it says, do not resist violent economic crime. That's street crime. Someone comes up to you, and when we do this in person, in the office or in our auditorium at the Foreign Service Institute, we actually role play it. And I play the victim, the tourist, the guy who's got his head up his iPhone, he's not paying attention, and someone comes out of nowhere to rob me. Now, the first thing we tell people is that, well, in reality, nobody comes out of nowhere. They're there. You just may not have seen them. So that goes back to situational awareness. But someone comes up to you and they've got a gun, they've got a knife, and they immediately get in your face and they grab you, or they just right in front of you and they say, give me your money. You will be anxious. You will be frightened, and that's okay. And then after you see this and we do this, say, okay, I can get through that. And what you do immediately, within reason as you can, cooperate. When it says do not resist violent economic crime, you put your hands up. You want to de-escalate it. You want the bad guy to calm down. They can think it's going to happen for him. And if they want your wallet, they want your bag, whatever it might be, give it to them. They want your watch, just give it to them. Just whatever it is, and then leave the area as quickly as possible. So you want to cooperate. In 9 times out of 10, and I have FBI statistics on this from DOJ, Department of Justice, just give them what they want. They go, then you call the police. So do not resist violent economic crime. Anybody got any problem with that? Nobody yet. So I'm going to kind of cooperate now with you and be the bad guy again. And I'm going to say, you know what? The bad guy now just doesn't want your money. They want you. Criminal abduction against your will. It's not hostage taking. This is street crime where someone puts their hands on you, a man or a woman, for a man or a woman. It happens everywhere and every day. They grab you, they try to grab you off that perfectly good street. They want to bring you into that alley or that white ubiquitous van, and you know what they're going to do. It's not going to be pretty. And here's where we tell our folks, you have free will, and we train for this, but you can do what you have to do. But here's where the FBI profiler again, absolutely both of us agree on this. We encourage you in criminal abduction against your will to resist and fight back, because you have an excellent chance then of surviving. Our statistics tell us at about 93 to 95% of the time, in a very quick confrontation, someone tries to grab you and it happens lightning fast. You will scream, yell, yes. And again, you have your own free will, but we want you to resist. We want you to make it miserable for this person for about 30 seconds so it's not worth their time. And how you do that is scream, yell, kick, whatever. Use your hands if you can get it, and work on the individual's face. You're in the fight of your life. This is what Clint Van Zandt, the very famous FBI profiler, calls it. Custer's last stand. You're out there. We want you to do that because involuntarily, when you work on someone's face, their eyes, their nose, their ears, they automatically go to defend that. If you can't grab that area, there are other body parts. Step on their feet, their groin, whatever it might be, because you want to break contact. And in most cases, as I say, between 93 and 95% of the time, they will break away. You'll pretty much get away with that. And we like that. You could get scratched, you could get hurt. But bottom line is that this is what we want you to do. But you have free will. Now, what happens if you don't do it? Well, you get into that van or that alley, and then the course that usually follows this, which I used to teach, was sexual assault. We're talking about rape, nasty nonsense that goes on, and we just don't want you to be subjected to that. Any questions, comments on that? Okay. Assume criminals are armed. You better believe it. We know approximately starting 8 to 10 years ago, there has been a literal explosion in weapons sales in the United States of all types, handguns, long guns, and there are now more guns in America than there are people. I assure you that you walk by people usually once a day, whether it be in the store, on the street, or in the car driving, someone has a weapon. In some cases, it's legal, even in Maryland. In some cases, most cases, it's bad guys with guns somewhere, but you are in the peripheral. If you drive 95 and you go about 10 miles, I would say the old statistics are 1 in 50 a person is under the influence of drugs or alcohol, and the numbers are a little better than that for someone who has a weapon, very possibly illegally. It's out there. People manufacture them, they steal them, they get them. I'm going to talk about guns in a little while, but you should assume criminals are armed. Obviously, the person who's got a gun in your face, a carjacker, a street person, and most bad guys and bad gals that use a gun have no training in it. They've seen it in the movies or they've played games with it, and they have no idea how quickly it goes off of the problems. And they take a gun out and pull the trigger, and they're very unremorseful, and you wind up with the problem. So assume criminals are armed and that there are people walking the streets out there. In the state of Maryland, the last statistic I looked at was last week, because we pay attention to these things. I'll be a little off, but out of the 50 states, Maryland hovers between number 13 and 16 of having the most per capita weapons per person purchases in the United States. Now, if you call around to gun stores now or something, they'll tell you there are waiting lists to buy weapons. There's no ammunition to be had. We know for that for a lot of reasons, good, bad, and ugly. And they're out there. And I just throw that out for your consideration. Taxis and private limos. Many people use Uber or a private car. When it comes up, we want you to make sure, is that really the Uber that you call? The most recent Uber crime I've heard was on 34th Street in a district about 2 a.m., where a young lady came out of her apartment. She was going somewhere, and a guy, bad guys do this, pulled up in a car and said, "Are you the one who called for the Uber?" She said, "Yes." And she gets in the Uber, and it is not the Ubers, what bad guys do, and she was raped and injured. So before you get into the Uber, it tells you on your phone, you're looking for the person's name, the identify of the vehicle. It's got the vehicle tag. Please don't get in until you're sure this is the car that you called for. And just because the Uber shows up, no matter what time of the day, if your intuition says, "I don't like this, there's something wrong," don't get in. Just don't get in. Say, "You know what? I've changed my mind." Take the hit on the financial end of it. It's a couple of bucks or something. Don't get in, and then do what you have to do to get the real Uber. Perhaps call the police, what your intuition may tell you, but be careful with that. Now, let's say you get in the Uber, no matter where it is in the world, or the limo or the taxi. And by the way, don't ever get into one of these things anywhere in the world if there's more than one person already in it. In South America, many times in the Far East, in Indonesia, where we lived, and in the Philippines, a lot of bad guys, taxi drivers, sometimes they steal a cab. They'll have an accomplice in the car with them, and you question it, say, well, it's my cousin, he's learning the job or something else. Never get into a car that's already got someone more than the driver in it, number one. But when you get in, if it's not going the place where you want to go, you've got a problem. With all due respect, my friends, open your big mouth and ask the driver what's going on, where is it happening. There is an app that I absolutely love, and it's free, and family members and friends have it, and it's called Life 360. Life 360. And what that does, it tells you and your family members exactly where you are, and it's free, where anywhere in the world that's got a cell tower that works. So you could get on it right now, as I have, and I can see where Barbara is, or Marty, my sister-in-law, or my sister in Long Island, or other friends, and I'll know where they are, and they'll know where I am. And that is free. And what that does is it assists you to tell somebody, hey, something's going on. You can pull it right up as you're going to see where you are, and perhaps, the location you could put in where you want to go. So if you're going the wrong way, there's a problem, again, talk to the driver. Things don't go well on there, 911 for the police. And that's what we want you to do. Any problems with that? Okay. Cell phones. They don't work if you don't charge them. So charge your cell phone. But the other thing with your cell phone is, we see it in town, and you go out and consciously look. God bless all of you, but people are out there using their phone as they walk around the street. And that means you're not situationally aware. And I know you're doing your business, you've got your ear things on, you got music, and I get it. So just do that, but then stop every so often. Say, that guy Tully wants me to look around, and just look around and see what's happening. That does two things. It tells you, again, what's happening in the now, and it tells anyone who maybe have untoward thoughts about you that you're looking around, you're looking for them. And that usually puts them off somewhere else in many cases. So, cell phones. For protection, some people come up and they ask, and I say, some people, yes. Tear gas and pepper spray, should I carry it? And my immediate answer is no. If you're not trained in it, it's very problematic. It's illegal in many places. You can't take it into federal buildings. It leaks. And if you're not trained in it, and as an agent, we have to be sprayed with this stuff. And it's not nice, because we used to carry it, little ones, because we were in plain clothes, but you have it available. And frankly, I've never had to use it on anybody, God forbid. And you have it, but it's just a pain in the neck. It leaks, it's problematic. When you go to grab it, you might do the wrong thing, and you're never prepared for it because you don't practice with it. So you take it out and you spray, to spray somebody, which is also illegal. That's an assault unless you can really articulate that. You could have it backwards and spray yourself, and that's no good, because now then you're on the ground doing the chicken, and the bad guys got you, to be honest. So be very careful with that. Also with pepper spray, rare, but it happens. You could spray somebody, or there's someone in the peripheral that gets sprayed, and they have a severe respiratory problem, and they could choke up and die in front of you because of that. In some jurisdictions, in particular in New York State and New Jersey, they can arrest you for involuntary manslaughter. So these are things that I'd like you to consider. So instead, if you want to carry something when you're walking, like I do, have a small air horn or whistle. Those of you who have seen Barbara and I walking the dog during the day or at night, one of the things I carry is that little storm whistle in the bottom right. I get it from a catalog. I guess the last one I got was the Duluth catalog for about $15. It's called a storm whistle. And you use it, and if you're frightened, now you can be a pain in the neck at 2:00 in the morning, go out and blow the whistle at your neighbors, which I don't recommend, but you can certainly have the whistle. And if you see something that bothers you, blow the whistle, because bad guys hate it. It's an attention getter, and that's what it works for. It's about 120, 130 decibels when you blow it. And it's something to consider. A little air horn, same thing. Again, it's an attention getter. If you hear something, people look around, and bad guys don't like that. And it's just an attention something. So I want you to think about that, please. Continuing having personal security, have the proper information and advice. On our listserv, because we're talking about Somerset, you've all noticed we get all kinds of information and advice, don't we? Everything from leaf blowers, Robin, to God knows what else on, weather, bad guys, do this, do that. Proper information and advice is critical. And you can, fortunately for the internet, or unfortunately, you can get all kinds of information out there. You can research the research and research the researched information, but have the proper information and advice which goes on. And that's why, again, I love the Montgomery County Police Information Center, their public affairs page. They have tweets, they put stuff out. It's timely, it's excellent. Metropolitan Police and Metro and DC have the same thing. So keep yourself updated with real information on what happens. Focus always on situational awareness. Even when I'm in the store, I look at people. I look at stuff. I see how people are dressed, the time of day, what are they doing? You can tell a little story about people. The truth be told, when I walk outside and I'm walking or I'm driving and I see people, you build a little story on it. Now, I did this for a career, remember, looking at people. And one of the things you also always want to do, incidentally, I always focus, because we're taught that, is where are the people's hands? What are their hands doing? Because that's where the danger comes from. Hands are the ones that's going to come smack you, punch you, has the knife or the gun. What are the hands doing? And that's a little indicator. But keep situational awareness in your forefront. Is a person dressed appropriately for the area? Is for the weather? People are wearing all kinds of masks now, and who, what, where, why. I get it, but just kind of look at that. What's going on? People really involuntarily tell you a great deal about how they look and how they act. Now, I do this still for a living. I find it fascinating, and you can build little profiles, meaning the observation of behavior on folks. So look at that. Now, lower your profile, meaning overseas or domestically, you want to blend in as much as possible. That means not having flashy jewelry or high-end stuff. You want to be unnoticed mostly and just blend in with everybody. So this is for a crime situation as well as other things. Know the threat. And again, we're in an increased threat domestically now with this terrorism alert. And we know that we're having crime uptick, and it's not going to go away. Loners get victimized, meaning not the person who's aware primarily, but the person, again, who's absorbed in their phone or a book when they're walking, and you've seen it here or anywhere else, anywhere in the area. But a person who's paying attention, on this picture on the right of this person, this lady with her bag, that's the kind of target that a pickpocket or a mugger is not looking for. The person who's walking erect, looking around, that's what you want to do. You want to say, hey, what's happening? We know from psychologists, of which this neighborhood has an awful lot, that bullying goes on in schools by people who are slumped over, always looking at the floor, looking at their shoes, not paying attention. It's kind of a natural thing for bad guys and bullies to look at. So you want to look like you know what you're doing, look around, and it puts people on notice. So it says loners get victimized. It's a person who really isn't just paying attention, where someone can quickly come and back at you, give you a smack, take you down, whatever else. So be aware of that. So as you're walking, walk upright. I know it's the rain or the cold, but stop every once in a while. Give it a look like you're observant, be observant. We stress whenever you can, we like people to travel in a group with friends, the buddy system. But maybe more importantly, especially in the evenings, if you're going to go out, kind of tell somebody, and we all value our privacy, but kind of tell somebody that you're going to go out. Where am I going to go or whatnot? You don't have to tell them where you're going, but I'm going to go somewhere in this general area. Text somebody or just a friend or a family member. And the reason for this is that if you go missing, in that terribly remote chance that it could happen, we're going to go look for you. The police are going to look for you. And when we start to talk to people, we'll look at, we'll try and ping your phone. We'll do what we can. But when we talk to people who you may have told someone, I'm going to be going downtown to this area, maybe to this restaurant, the wharf. I'm going to go for a hike on the trail, Little Falls, whatever it might be. That helps us going to the last known location where you were there so we can start the investigation, look for clues, what's happening. Very, very, very important. So please consider that. I want to go back to something where I said profile the scene and the person. Let me give you a personal also example. One of the things I did in retirement for 5 years, in addition to teaching and consulting, I was a subject matter expert for the Board of Examiners for the Foreign Service. What that means is that I would go to not just headquarters in Washington or Roslyn, but I would go nationwide with a trained group of agents, both active and retired, with the Foreign Service officers. So we could interview applicants for special agents for the Diplomatic Security Service. Now, in the Secret Service, I didn't do that, but I did this for DSS. And what's important about this story is it's a personal situation where a very good friend of mine, a retired agent, two of us, we were in Phoenix several years ago. And after dinner, we went out for a walk, just a simple walk. And it was getting a little dark, and we had not been in Phoenix before. And as we left the hotel, we made a left turn, and we started down a street which was getting a little isolated. And I told you, always look around, situational awareness. We always look 2-3 blocks ahead of time or as far ahead as you can, like when you're driving a car, to see what's happening. But about 2 short city blocks ahead, there were 5 young men, period. Now, I have kind of phenomenalized this. Think about this. So again, we're always looking ahead. And there were 5 young men on a wall, meaning they were just had their feet on it. They were leaning against it. They were having a good time. They were smoking a cigarette. They were okay. But as soon as they saw my partner and I, they no longer were laughing. They were no longer having a good time. They kind of conferred with each other. And that got my anxiety up, my situational awareness. Now, this was all very innocent, right? So I said to my partner, John, I said, John, I just don't feel comfortable. And this is good. You can do this. I mean, it's taking command of your own security, real or imagined. It's okay. And I said to John, let's cross the street. Well, we did. As soon as we crossed the street, what do you think those 5 perfectly fine young men did? They crossed the street too. Now, in federal law enforcement, we call that a clue. And we didn't like that. So I simply said to John, let's turn around and go back to where the lights and other people are. We stopped first. We gave them a good look. Yes, made eye contact, not staring anybody down, but I wanted them to know that we knew. I took out my phone and, kind of did an elaborate thing and said, okay, I'm on the phone. I wasn't on the phone, but we did something to show that we recognized them. Moral of the story, as we walked back and as we got into the area where there were more people and more traffic, they drifted away. I could never tell you that those 5 perfectly nice guys wanted to do anything to harm John and I. We never called the police. We didn't get to that threshold. But what we did was we did what I'd like you to consider. Remember, we're never going to tell you what to do. We'd like you to consider this. We removed ourselves from a very anxious situation. And that's okay. We're not tough guys anymore. I mean, not that we ever were. But we said we had enough of this. Let's just turn around and come back. So consider that. I'd forget this bravado business when you're on the sidewalk or anything else. If it doesn't feel right, it isn't right. And I tell you a personal story on that. We always like to be predictably unpredictable if you can. That's why I always look left and look right. Kind of difficult these days to change, when we're going to go out with the dog or not, because the dog tells us when she wants to go out. And then being very submissive parents, we do that. But you get the point. Weapons. I'd be very remiss not to talk about weapons. And I'll tell you why. Not unsurprisingly, over the last, I'd say 2 or 3 years, not just people in town, but personal friends, um, fellow alumni, when I go teach and talk at Sacred Heart University or Harding University, people come up to me and they want to know, this is shocking, should I buy a gun? And my answer usually is first, why do you want it? Let me just say something about guns. Like vehicles, cars, some people shouldn't own cars. Some people shouldn't own guns. And to dismiss this and hide it, say that elephant doesn't exist, it's out there. This is very problematic. As a federal officer, retired, and a federal firearms instructor, because overseas I have to qualify or had to qualify the Marine Detachment, of which we're the commanding officer of operationally. Other federal agents may be assigned to post, the FBI legat or Treasury people or whatnot. So I'm, frankly, very comfortable around this. This is what I did and do for a living as well. They are inanimate objects. You don't have to like that. And by the way, I don't, if you don't like guns, that's great. You don't like it, fine. You love them, that's great too. I don't care. I don't care. What I care about is the real danger if you don't know what you're doing with this. And I'll never recommend anyone to get one or not. That's between you and your instructor, and especially in the state of Maryland, which is very difficult to obtain one. And then, God forbid, you want to carry one. That's another whole issue, and very problematic. But if you're going to get a gun and you're going to use it, there are huge consequences legally and morally. So I want you to think about that. Storage, we have rules and regulations in the state of Maryland, which I love. We have a very robust background investigation. By the way, I told you earlier where Maryland sits with gun possession. The Maryland State Police, I want to say it was in the summer, especially after the May-June riots, their unit at headquarters that does backgrounds for gun purchases crashed. They couldn't keep up with it. And it took them 4 days to get that back up online. So that goes back to my earlier thing saying you never know who's out there with a weapon. Before you decide you're going to do this, think of, morally, ethically, legally, what are you going to do with it? And you got to keep it protected. There's alcohol, suicide, all kinds of problems. And frankly, most people, you're better off, let's say this generally, not worrying about it. Don't do it. But if you're going to do it, go talk to an instructor. Maryland has some excellent people, and I know all the laws to do it. And I guess enough said about that. Okay. Knives. People say to me, well, I can't carry a gun. Should I carry a knife? What are you going to do with it? Cut your sandwich? I mean, it's very difficult. The best defense against someone who's got a knife is to run away from them. Problematic stuff. And that's another whole issue we could talk about. But one more thing, just to tell you, to desensitize this a little bit, guns are and I teach this at FSI, they are inanimate objects, meaning it's just sitting there. It takes someone to consciously pick it up, load it, and use it. And the point I want to make with you is that if you took that particular Sig Sauer 9mm there and you put it in a room with a baseball bat and a hand grenade that's live with the pin still in it, and you lock that room and you go away for 30 years, and you come back 30 years later, the baseball bat didn't get up and hit you in the head, the hand grenade didn't pull its own pin, and the gun didn't pull its own trigger. It takes a human being to do that. So a lot of issues to think about. And I recall being on very briefly the security committee 25 years ago, whenever it was. And I could not stay on it because I was working full time. But at that time, we had a survey that went out in the town, and the chairman sent that out and actually asked anonymously about weapons in town. And not unsurprising to me, it came back with over 50%. That means it's a little higher because most people didn't answer that. And that's just an issue to remember. So they're out there. Questions, comments, anybody? Not yet. Crime trends. And I'm watching our time. I think we're going to be just fine. Here's the biggest deal: ATM abductions. When you go to an ATM, please, before you go to the ATM, I want you to look left, look right, look all around, because that's where the bad guys are. Bad guys hang out at ATMs because that's where the money is. So look around. If somebody or something bothers you, please pass it up and go to another ATM. We like folks that go to ATMs in interior places. There's more people out there, the chances are less. But again, let's just say that person, that ubiquitous somebody who came out of nowhere, comes out, grabs you, they want the money, give them the money. But be careful and look around. An ATM abduction, where people will continue this, it also goes where the money is and where the jewelry is. There are bad guys that follow people out of Tiffany's, out of high-end stores, especially if you got a bag or something. When you're least looking, they come grab you and boom, bang, bing. So please look around first. If it doesn't look right, feel right, go back to the store, go to a crowded area, somewhere else. The picture down here on the right, typically when you're absorbed in your phone, you've lost that 360 situational awareness. Just be aware people are looking for you. Someone wants your phone, you just paid $2,000, whatever it costs for a new iPhone. Just give it to them. We can replace that. We can't replace you. These other things pretty much, I think, are self-explanatory for you. iPod theft. We did have a situation in the metro before it was a crime trend before COVID, is that people who were involved pretty much on the metro with their iPod or iPhone, they're staring down on it. They're not looking left or right. We had a phenomenon, especially in the Red Line in the area of the train station, Union Station, and then beyond, where you would be coming up to your station or a station, and someone, usually young men, would jump up, smack you, grab your device, and then jump off the train when the doors open, never to be seen again. So just be aware, look around for that, please. Carjacking, near and dear to our hearts here. And by God's good grace, we didn't have a terrible situation where the person was injured here, not unlike in Silver Spring. This is for overseas, foreigners are targeted, but carjacking, the trend is up, not just this city, but Baltimore and elsewhere. I just looked this up this morning. You know, you're in the car, you do everything right, you got the situation down the right here. Someone comes up to you, sticks a gun in your face, maybe not even a gun, they demand the vehicle. Those of you who saw the video that we posted, I guess it was last Saturday or Sunday, of the situation on Connecticut Avenue, where the detective from Montgomery County says, and I'll tell you the same thing, give him the car, give it up. Do not fight for the car. Someone wants your vehicle, give it to them. I don't care what it costs. I don't care how new it is. It's not worth your life. Carjacking is a phenomenal situation. You may think you've got an older car like the Audi up here. It doesn't matter. If the bad guy needs, in our case, we had a teenager, a 14-year-old and a 15-year-old who carjacked you. Someone follows you in this case. You know, we train people in our week-long counter assault team course to look for vehicles that follow us. I don't expect you to do that, but look around. When you drive into the neighborhood, you're driving to your house, just see, has there anyone been following? What do the people look like? Is your intuition up? You get out of your car, they stop, they block the driveway, they get out. You know, give them the car, give them the car. In a situation where someone wants to get in the car with you, this goes back to criminal or abduction or assault against your will. We absolutely recommend you do not do that, because once you allow a carjacker to get in the car with you and drive away and they say, we just want to go to the ATM, we recommend, your free will do what you want, but we recommend you absolutely resist that, because now they've got you, the car, and the money, and that's not a good situation. So carjacking, someone comes up, give them the car, give them the car. They want you to get in with the car, let them, no, absolutely not. Those of you that saw that video again on Connecticut Avenue, that young lady who resisted, who was knocked down several times by the perpetrator, she's very lucky to be not severely injured or not killed, because he had a weapon. He could have pulled the trigger. It's not worth it. So let that go, please.
Mr. Chairman, let me, this is Jeffrey. Let me just interrupt briefly here, because I know that I want to do a time check, and I know that you had said you would continue past 2, which is wonderful. But I did just want to insert myself here to thank you for this tremendous presentation, which I know is just the beginning of your service as the chair of this important committee. And I'm so glad that so many people from the town have participated today. And this will be a wonderful tool for us to use. And I also hope that you will continue to have sort of regular sessions like this, because I think that it's very, very important. So thank you again, and please continue as long as you're able. And I'm sure there are some other questions from the audience. And I also want to recognize that there are at least 3 council members joining us: Councilmember Peel, Councilmember Barr, Councilmember Zeughauser. So thank you so much, Bruce, and thank you for again for agreeing to chair this important committee. And with that, I'll turn it back to you.
Well, you're welcome, and it is indeed a pleasure to do this, and I think it's terribly important. For those of you interested, for the time, we'll conclude within 10 minutes, and then I'll be available for you as you may need.
Bruce, there have been a couple of questions that came in. Would you like me to hold them until the end and allow you to keep going, or?
I think, yes, if you would, so I can get everything done, and I'm very happy to answer questions.
Great.
Great, thank you. So carjacking. One thing I should mention, if you've got children in the car and the bad guy comes up and wants the car, what we recommend 100% is that you don't ask, but you make a statement. You don't ask, oh, can I get the kids out of the car? No, you make a statement, you take ownership, and you say, I have children in the car. I have to get the kids out of the car. Depending on their age and their demeanor, they may cry, they may scream, they may be silent. You've put the bad guy on notice that, they want time on target. They want to get the car and get moving. Children, in many, many times of the cases, once they discover there's children, they don't want children, they leave and they go on. If they try to get in the car with the kids, tough situation, but our recommendation is don't let that happen. Scream, yell, beep the horn, throw the keys out of the car. You want time on target again, make them go elsewhere, do something, because it's the last thing we want. I'm not going to go into aviation security because no one's traveling. I can do that at another time. I have a whole deal on this, on terrorism and bombings and whatnot. Hotel security, I'm not going to go into that at the moment. If you're traveling, though, we want you to always use TripAdvisor quickly, just to make sure that you stay in a good place. Don't be cheap. Stay at a good place. It's your security. I can talk about that at another time. Residential security. We've had break-ins. We've had attempted break-ins. Site selections for us overseas, we always put people in what we call a safe environment, where we've armed the place with alarms. We have safe havens. We don't put you in an area of town that's dangerous. We do a lot of research on that with General Services Officer in the admin division. but at your home. If you have an alarm, and by the way, people said, should I get an alarm? Well, that's up to you. I mean, really, I have an alarm and I arm it. But if you have an alarm, use it by all means. Do not, I'm going to jump to the bottom here a minute. Know who's at your door. Please don't open your door to anybody unless you know who's there. And if you don't have a peephole or you can't talk to somebody, get one. I mean, don't open your door, because once you open your door, you've opened the gates to the castle. I mean, just don't do that, please. Who's there? So again, if you have an alarm, use it. A safe haven. If someone breaks into your home and you need to run away and hide, we recommend the bathroom area, because it's usually got a lock, you've got water in there, you've got your cell phone with you maybe, but that's usually the safest place to go in there. Everyone has to reevaluate that for yourself. And about residential security, we want you to think like a burglar. If you're going to break into your house, where would you do it? That's what bad guys do. Now, we previously put something out about lights, alarms, all that stuff. But yeah, you should have adequate lighting. Do not, if you're going to travel, please have someone pick up your newspapers. I can't tell you how many times you walk through the street and you do it, whether it be on Dorset, Warwick, Essex, and Greystone. People travel, sure, but either shut off the papers or have a neighbor pick it up. And even if you don't know somebody, pick up the paper and hide it for them on their porch, whatever else. It tells bad guys that are there. So if you have an alarm, use it. You have cameras, use it. Burglary. You've come home and you've been burgled. Do not go in the house. Do not resist that urge, because the burglar could still be in the house. Call the police. Wait for them to arrive. Again, don't open the door unless you know who's there. Please lock doors and windows. Even if you go out to walk the dog or just run to the store. I know personally of situations in town where people have walked the dog, they've got the giant, I'll be right back. They left the doors open. People see that. People who are service people come by at random. They just, you pull out. There's all kinds of that nonsense that happens. So do yourself a favor, lock the door. I'll tell you right up front, we do it. When we go out, we lock the door. Now, don't try and trust me, say Tully's lying to me and try and open the door. I'll get you on the cameras, the alarm will go off, and then it's all a big commotion. So don't do that, please. But we really do it. So lock that. Don't open a door unless you know who's there. If someone doesn't leave your doorway after you've asked them to leave, and that's happened recently in town, call the police. Announce and say, someone's at my door. They won't leave. I'm frightened. I'm uncomfortable. Call the police. That is not good behavior. That is atypical behavior. So please do that. Fire exit, if you've got to always do fire drills, you knew that from when you were a kid at school. Know how to get out of the house at least 2 different ways, please. Don't try and put a fire out in your house either, no matter the size of it. Call the fire department. Fires burn 100% of themselves every single minute in most cases. We're almost done. This is where at the Foreign Service Institute or other places I go to, universities or businesses, where I run a movie. I want you to look at this movie. It's called Run, Hide, Fight for Active Shooters. It runs 6 minutes. It's put out by Homeland Security, and it's terrific. It's my favorite 6-minute movie. Run, hide, fight. It goes through situations, what I'd like you to look at. Very basically, the 10-10-80 rule is that, and this good for nothing up here is a fellow who killed himself and 32 other people at Virginia Tech many years ago in an active shooter situation. In any emergency, the group of people, there'll be a great dynamic. Normally, the top 10% of all the victims in a situation, in most cases, will get out okay. You'll have fear. You'd have anxiety, but we want you to do something about it because you've been trained, you'll get anxious, you have the recall prepare, you do something, you try to escape, you fight, hide, run, you do what you've got to do. to get out of any dangerous situation. You must do something. Because if you don't do something, you're going to be in the bottom 10%. Panic, disbelief, denial, and you give in to that terrible danger, and it doesn't have a good, happy ending. And the 80%, my friends and neighbors, and you know this, 80% of any dynamic, this is all approximate but usual, they are folks who can't make up their mind. They go, what do I do? They go left, they go right. Unfortunately, we kind of call them the sheep. They don't know what to do. They look for someone to give them direction. There may be no direction, and they get hurt or worse. So we want everybody here to be committed to do what you've got to do to protect yourself. The 10, 10, and 80 rule. Please go on YouTube. See this movie, Run, Hide, Fight. It's a great movie because it happens. Bad guys are out there. Things happen. We want you to do what you've got to do to protect yourself. And we want you to refuse to be a victim. You have free will. I always have to say that, but you know, these little silly pictures here, we want you to be prepared. We want you to know something could happen and be prepared for it, please. And the very last slide before I take any questions, it's my email at the bottom and a couple of silly pictures from my illustrious career, of which I have hundreds of pictures, unfortunately. So there's my email at the bottom. This is from Indonesia at the top. As I said, I've commanded 5 different Marine Security Guard detachments around the world. Yes, protected bad guys, good guys. This one is tactical. This is one of my favorite guys to have protected on the left, just a super guy. And I protected every president in and out of office from Nixon to the last Bush, and every Secretary of State from Kissinger to Condoleezza Rice and Prince Charles, Nelson Mandela, you go on, and it's been a pleasure, but that's what we do. So we've got a lot of stuff. We gave you a lot of information. I think this is the first time the town's ever done this. And Matt, if there are questions, I'm happy to entertain them.
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you. Just want to echo what our mayor said previously. Appreciate you lending your expertise to the town and to this important committee and taking the time today to make this presentation for folks. I will just remind folks if you want to ask a question, you can raise your hand or post it in the chat. There were a couple that came up, Bruce, and I also want to preface this by saying these may be issues that the Public Safety Committee looks into further in terms of how specifically they could be utilized in the town or what benefit they may or may not have for the town. But the first question was about exterior lighting at your property, and if you have any thoughts about making sure you have exterior lighting on, especially at nighttime.
Yes, and you're free to walk by our home any evening. It's 5703 Warwick, and you'll see we have lights on all night. We have motion detector lights. We have daytime, night lights when they come on. We want the place, lit up. This is for my training, not just at the White House, but at embassies, but living abroad and statistics that we know. I should tell you this, lighting and everything we tell you doesn't prevent an incident, but it really minimizes the chance for it. So yeah, lighting is good. We like a lot of lights in this place. I have 360 around the house, and we designed the house. We came back from Hong Kong and Indonesia, and when we did remodeling, we put up all kinds of lights. I've added TV cameras, motion detectors. So yeah, lighting is good. A lot of lighting is real good. We keep our lights on from dawn to dusk, and you can go by the house and see it. And it doesn't, I won't tell you that we've never had an incident or it will protect us from all incidents, but it minimizes that. So bad guys hate lighting. Some guys have it. I've seen cameras of other people where have bad guys right up the lights are on and they come to the house or whatnot. But generally speaking, more than generally speaking, lighting is good. Motion detectors again, daylight to nighttime lighting, absolutely. And feel free to walk by our house and see the lights that we've got. And then I can also, if you come real close to the house, sometimes not so close, I can show you the video of how you look in the evening or the daytime as you walk by. Because yes, I have cameras. I have Arlo cameras. That's what I don't say get whatever you want, but I have cameras and we use them.
Thank you. And the second question is something that has come up on some of the private listservs, but cameras and how useful they might be, especially as a deterrence for crime.
When I was on the traffic committee, cameras came up as well for traffic counting and to see traffic flow. Okay, you know that Chevy Chase Village across the street's got a big green camera there. There are cameras. People are passionate about cameras. Cameras, generally speaking, let's talk about our carjacking incident because I saw the generation of that. Those cameras are very, very good for after the crime incident to see who may have been in town or who wasn't through a particular time frame through reading the license plate. They rarely show us who's in the vehicle. Those cameras, friends, would not have prevented this situation. Cameras, signs for cameras, neighborhood watch, they're very good, but generally speaking, they do not deter crime from a dedicated criminal who wants to do this. That's what they do. I could show you or put you in touch with all types of video where bad guys look at the camera, give it the finger, still break in. They know when they call 911, they've got 90 seconds to 10 minutes to do what they've got to do and leave. So are cameras useful? In some cases, yes. I have cameras, maybe as a deterrent, but mostly so I know what's going on. Or if, God forbid, something happened, I have proof positive to give the police who can match it up and say, here's what we got, here's what we have for a suspect. So again, the issue is we have cameras, but how useful is the camera? Again, it's a great tool. When you leave the area, you can, and by the way, most bad guys who use a car to come in town, they've stolen the car in the first place. And those of you who may not know this, you can do the research. Town's very good on research. A lot of bad guys, when they steal cars, they also rent that car to other bad guys. I don't think you knew that. And they rent guns to other bad guys too, which is a whole nother society out there. But cameras can tell you who may have been in town, who the vehicle was, and so on. It's my simple answer. And
Thanks.
the committee will obviously want to talk about that and go on, and that's what we'll do.
Thank you. Yeah, I know that this has been flagged by some of your fellow committee members as an issue.
Absolutely, I'm well aware of it.
Look into more. Next, Georgette Dorn raised her hand. So Georgette, I'm going to unmute you and give you an opportunity to ask your question.
No, I didn't. I'm sorry. I didn't.
Okay. All right. Nope. Well,
That's
thanks
okay,
for joining.
Georgette.
Well, I'll give one last opportunity. If anybody wants to ask a question, they can use the raise hand function or post it in the chat. Councilmember Peel has a question for you.
Sure.
It was more just for anybody who might be watching the video. I just wanted to mention for everybody who's listening, if you haven't seen my note in the chat, we've been using Life 360 ever since our oldest child started driving. And we made it a condition of having the car keys that he had to put it on his phone. And then our other two children also are on it, and all five of us are on it. So I would say overall, as a parent, I think it's been an excellent experience. There's been a little pushback from our young adults, but even my daughter, who is at college now, I asked her to turn on her location services. I told her I just like to be able to see now and then that she's moving around campus. And I said, I'm not spying on you, but I want to be able to know that you're getting around and getting to where you're supposed to be. So I'd be happy to help anybody who has any questions about the experience, and you can email me if you'd like to.
And Franny, thank you for that. It also works worldwide. I mean, I absolutely used it with a family member in Morocco and England. I could know what terminal she was in to make sure she was safe and what's going on. Barbara and I use it all the time. So thank you for that, Franny.
I think that may be the last question. Somebody just asked a specific question comparing Life 360 to Find Friends app. I don't know if that's something you're familiar with, Bruce.
It's similar, I would say, but we love Life 360. I mean, that's what I have the most experience with.
Okay. Christine, I can do a little bit of research into that for you and send you some info on that. And just one note, I posted a link from St. Mary's College, which actually recommends in their Office of Public Safety webpage that run, hide, fight active shooter protocol video that you recommended, Bruce. So
Great video.
I put the link up there on the chat for folks. And we'll save the chat so people can access that later. So I think that covers everything. Thank you all for attending this. Thank you, Bruce, for hosting.
A pleasure.
And we all look forward to the work that the Public Safety Committee will do moving forward.
Everybody be safe, be aware, and wear a mask.
Take care, everyone.
Roger that.